Good evening, fellow ghouls and spectres alike. It's your ghost host with the most tiki here.
And Bluedragonfive, here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs and dusting off the cobwebs to recount a spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So, light the jack-o'-lanterns, suit up, and grab the candy dish as we revive and recount tonight's spooky selection. Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, the Slayer. All right. So, Dragon, I believe this is the last of our Buzz Lightyear of Star Command episodes, right?
uh, yeah, we never. Well, you're not going to recall this. I don't think we ever did the Rhizone one, but it's not really spooky. It's the only other episode
Doesn't sound
Nosferatu.
familiar.
It's the only other one I believe Nosferatu really features in, but I don't know if it's necessarily like kind of Halloween material. So this essentially, for all intents and purposes, this is the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, so end of the era. And every time I watch this show, Dragon, I'm reminded just a little bit more, not to knock on Lightyear too hard. You know my thoughts on it, but I just prefer this approach to Buzz Lightyear so much more than like the hyper realistic style that movie was going for.
Have you
I don't
binged the
know. This
show
show
yet?
just has such a fun vibe to it with the Saturday morning. The Saturday morning cartoon mixed with the Flash Gordon serial. It's just such a good time. Dragon, I like this episode quite a bit. I really did. I think it's got a surprising amount of pathos to it. Like, to the point where it's like I don't think those parents get killed off if they're not robots. Let's just put it that way. If there isn't a direct possibility for them to be rebuilt by the end of the episode, I don't think we get something that hits that hard.
The magical robots, kid. You can kill them any way you like because they're
but
robots.
but yeah, I don't know. I think this episode, Dragon, I'm a tiny bit conflicted on it because I think it's a great showcase for Cree Summer, surprisingly enough, which I was not expecting. I genuinely think this is a very good one-off character for her. What I think this episode lacks, unfortunately, is the scares. Like, there's definitely some good Nosferatu action, but at the end of the day, I honestly feel like the pathos of this episode, in some ways, kind of overshadows the actual scare factor. Like, I don't know, but I do like it quite a bit, just as a standalone episode.
Yeah. I've always So again, it's no secret I adore the Buzz Lightyear Star Command show so much. I love it. Yeah, you never watched it from start to finish, right?
Well, it's funny. I would if it would drop on a certain streaming
Oh,
service that's never going to
I'm well
drop
aware of
on.
that. I'm
Funny
well
you
aware of
mentioned
that.
that, Dragon.
Yeah, seriously though, Disney Plus just utterly ridiculous about their treatment of Buzz Lightyear Star Command. Is the fact that of all the shows that they're not going to put on there, really, we have a movie called Lightyear out, and we're not going to put it on.
I honestly think they're trying to bury this show specifically because of Lightyear.
Yeah.
They don't want to confuse the branding.
Unfortunately, that is the stubborn thorn in my side. It seems, yes. I mean, that and Legend of Tarzan, which is baffling. That might be the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate, but yet Tarzan is on there. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I Legend of Tarzan. The Edgar Rice Burroughs estate is like notoriously hard to work with. That's honestly kind of
Well, that's the thing.
one
They
of the
used to be
reasons
really
why
cool.
the Tarzan. It's one of the reasons why the Tarzan IP tends to like switch around so much. But
And
yeah,
that said, it's like when they were working with them on the Tarzan movie, they were very. I heard they were very nice to work with. Like they only had like one note for him after everything they did. It was like, yeah, just to make sure he doesn't drink the wine. That's all they said. That was like the only note.
I don't know. You never know. It could just be a royalties thing.
Maybe, regardless. But otherwise, you really do have to check out the show at some point. There are so many great episodes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, so those for A2 is always one of the standout characters for me because he always had like the coolest design, he like the coolest toy. They didn't put out toys for Buzz Lightyear Star Command. It was like, oh man, he looks so cool. And just one of the coolest characters, and voiced, of course, by the wonderful Craig Ferguson. Of course, I had a great fondness for from Freakazoid, and I think we all have many fondnesses for Craig Ferguson, whether it be How to Train Your Dragons or whatnot. I think we all love that man.
You know what I think one of his low-key, most underrated voice acting roles is?
Well, for me, I say it's this one. But what do you got?
Owl in Winnie the Pooh 2011.
Yeah, that's great too. That's flawless casting. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, as we kind of intimated before, so essentially the interesting thing about Buzz Lightyear Starkman is Tad Stones, I believe, was kind of the main guy leading the charge on this. I know we had Schoolie and McCorkle. I'm saying it was kind of like a trio of guys, but I think Tad Stones, I believe it was, this is kind of him coming off of. I forget if there's something in between. Obviously, I'm blanking on the year for Kim Possible, but I know he had, he had Darkwing Duck before this. So, just the fact is, there was a kind of like an imperative from the network that we can't have like continuity in these. We have to be, because we know we're never gonna give it a finale, and our finale essentially was the movie that started it all, which is really bizarre and backwards when you think about it. But regardless, it's just the fact that they're trying not to have any continuity. Yet the only continuity we ever really got in terms of, you would have probably been better off watching the episodes that led up to this, were the monster episodes, in which you had Nosferatu's origin, which is a good one-off. And then when he comes back, it's like, okay, there's a little bit of history there. Like this episode, for example, like the way it's supposed to go is Nosferatu, then this, and then maybe a spare appearance of Rhizone and the Wirewolf. Wirewolf basically being the one we talked about, which is the big monster battle finale of all of that, in which we actually kill Nosferatu often, like permanently. Like he blows up. There's not a piece of him to be reconstituted. He's blown up and impaled, and it's awesome.
Yeah, Tom Beast is here in the comments. He notes that he watched Wirewolf first as well, and I believe we did the same thing, right?
Yeah, well, okay, so let me explain that. So no, I believe we did Nosferatu and then Wirewolf, but saying you and I went somewhat. We kind of jumped ahead with the Wirewolf, not the Wirewolf thing, with the Monster Mash finale, but essentially. But notoriously, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, there was like, even no matter what's going to happen, even if it does eventually by some miracle end up on Disney Plus, which already notoriously gets the episodes in the wrong order, it was a nightmare in terms of production order and getting them in the right order. Because again, they are essentially standalone, but you'll notice the quality keeps shifting in terms of, you have like kind of the modern kind of cleaned up animation style.
I totally noticed this episode has like markedly better animation than most of the episodes I've seen.
Well, oddly, it's not so much that, Tiki. It's the fact that this is kind of like a the computer cleanup era of animation. This is like, I'm assuming maybe a cell animated thing, at the very least something close to it.
I mean, I'm a sucker for cell animation, so yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, sense. So I'm saying there's like two eras of Buzz Lightyear that in the episode order and the episode numbering, they just kind of mixed them all, and it keeps jumping between cell animation and the cleanup animation. Rough. And the weirdest thing that I still can't place what exactly happened here is the Nosferatu episode is a cleaned up animation, yet this is the sequel to it. So somehow it went backwards. Now I don't know if that was like just a certain animation studio they used had been dabbling in the cleaned up animation, then they just kind of shifted to it entirely, or if somehow they just planned ahead. They knew like what the 65 episodes or whatever were going to be, and it's like, okay, so we're going to do this eventually, Nosferatu, and then we'll get back to like the introduction of them later. That's how it's going to work. It's I don't know. It's really messed up the episode orders, and Disney was notorious for this sort of thing all the time. But it was, this is crazy. But I'm with you, Tig. I love the pathos of this. I love I love the horror ambiance. But admittedly, yes, it's not exactly the horror ambiance you get with the Wirewolf episode that we did cover. That one's like full on like Wolfman horror, and it's great.
Yeah.
But this episode has always been a go-to for him because of the pathos, and they have some good gags. And of course, who doesn't love Craig Ferguson as a vampire? I mean, honestly, right? Okay.
I will say this episode does have a really good running gag with Buzz, and like, you're definitely too young to know about that.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into it.
Right,
so one of the things just right off the bat that I really like about this episode is how streamlined it is, because it's basically just a standalone Buzz and XR episode, which I can definitely vibe with.
Yeah, so we started the episode off with a great fake out in which we have what seems to be like a sting operation where Buzz and XR are planning this sting operation, and of course we reveal no one's in trouble really. It's he's orchestrated the junior, like a squad of the junior space rangers, essentially Girl Scouts in space, to sell Commander Nebula cookies, but he ain't buying. I love the logic here. I love that Buzz was sure it was going to work because I thought for sure it was going to work if we got him after dinner.
He's just notoriously tricky to get those cookies, Dragon.
Oh, absolutely, and it's the fact that he this is like I eat my dinner I eat dessert before dinner. That's how I keep my girlish figure.
Oh man!
So another voice actor we should highlight to you. So rarely do we talk about this show. I wish we could talk about so much more. Adam Carolla does the voice of Nebula.
Oh yeah, shit! I forgot about that.
He's really good, isn't he?
Oh. Okay. So yeah, we get a little bit of let's see, some exposition about Nosferatu, right? Just to kind of catch us up to speed.
Not Nosferatu.
Not Nosferatu. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, I mean no, just it's Nosferatu, Tiki.
Oh, right, Nosferatu. Right. I'm sorry. Nosferatu is next time. And by the way, Dragon, we should probably actually highlight the fact that, hey, this is the penultimate episode. We're talking about Nosferatu.
Well, essentially, this is the penultimate episode. We might there might be kind of a little.
I'm so sorry, I forgot about that wrinkle. We're not doing the whole penultimate thing leading into Nosferatu. I'm sorry.
Not anymore. So yeah,
but Nosferatu is the finale. So there, synergy.
Write your angry letters to Lisa, dude, kids, not me. Okay, so anyway, but yeah. So the point being, so they're trying to like, okay, well, go out there, Junior Rangers, make me proud, and he's like, push the macaroons, we're overstocked on them, push the macaroons. So then we learn Nosferatu has escaped the prison planet in Buzz Lightyear Star Command, PC-7, and he's on Tradeworld, which is an energy vampire buffet. It's like Vegas for energy vampires.
Not good, yeah.
So XR, he's getting cocky because again he had the big hero moment defeating Nosferatu in his first appearance.
Continuity, indeed. This might be like the most deep continuity the show ever goes. It's like XR getting cocky about the previous episode.
Yeah, and basically we kind of use this as a way of like, okay, well, we just want these two characters in the episode, so XR got cocky, so that's why we don't have Mirror and Booster in this one, for kind of the streamline.
But like I said, Dragon, I think it works. I do appreciate how when these ensemble shows can kind of like do mixing and matching of different pairings. I think it is it benefits a lot of the episodes to kind of streamline that kind of stuff. So
yeah. So let's see. So and then, of course, we have, this gag is just hysterical to me. Oh, by the way, I used to mention this, because sometimes they kept jumping. So throughout the series, there are two voices for XR. You have Larry Miller, who's the original voice, and who occasionally drops in the new episodes. Like this one, he is the voice of XR here. And then for the majority of the series, because Larry Miller's a busy guy, they had Neil Flynn, the great Neil Flynn, do the voice of XR. So, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's the fact that I was kind of delighted. Like, wait a minute, that's got to be, we got a Larry Miller episode. Who knew? Anyway, so of course XR says, come on, Buzz, he pulls out the little suckers and he demonstrates like a poor crewbot somewhere. And he's just like, we'll be back in time for poker, for the big poker games. Just gambling at Star Command. Not for long. We'll get out there and we'll weed out that poker game. 7-1 odds. No more poker after tonight. And then, of course, while he's on the ship, it's like all the poker chips come flying out. It's almost like Lou Costello and the Invisible Man. There's like, it's just XR. Pick up. Sorry, they have the great line from the great Patrick Warburton. Pick up the poker chips, XR.
Yeah, Patrick Warburton is kind of on fire this episode. Again, it really makes me wish that they would, if not Tim Allen, go to him. But anyways, I digress.
Anyway,
Dragon, there was going to be a little bit of Lightyear bitterness in this podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah, whiny first world problems. I get it. Okay, so point being, Patrick Warburton always is a delight as Buzz Lightyear in this show, and of course, they have a lot of snarky Buzz. And of course, one of the great things, the great thing you get with Patrick Warburton, Buzz Lightyear, is you get ticked off Buzz Lightyear. We get to see that later in the episode. I love when the animated Buzz Lightyear just gets ticked off in this series. And of course, I think I told you about this. I don't think you ever. I think I sent you a clip of this once. I don't know if you watched it, but there's this one rant that he had when he talks about basically Buzz Lightyear had a girl who cheated on him, and it was
No, I do remember that. Yeah.
like with the tennis instructor, and he's just like ranting. It's like, it's loser booster. That's what it means. Almost having a Mrs. Nesbit meltdown.
No, I definitely remember that.
Anyway. So, okay, so we're on Tradeworld. Of course, Tradeworld is one of the great. We have a few regular planets. We kind of built it like Star Wars. We have a number of kind of themed planets, and this planet is kind of like the it's like the downtown kind of crime-ridden city planet, but as the entire planet. And we have the Venbot. Now, the Venbot, voiced by the great Joe Lasky, he's basically accosted by some punks, and he zaps them, says, "No coin drop, no soda pop."
Uh-huh.
And he's talking to his wife. His wife is probably should have been an ATM, and of course he is attacked by none other than Nosferatu. I thirst for juice.
And I'm not even gonna lie. I think this first scene with Nosferatu is probably like at his most, horrifying in terms of like he's literally sucking the life out of these robots.
In a vending machine, no less. of all the targets he could have, and also I love the vending machine was fight. I like that we just had the vending machine be like a street guy. He's like a cab driver almost, where he's like he fires sodas at him, and he has like the shockwave defense system, which he basically just absorbs like tasty. And then, of course, he drains the poor Venbot. Thank goodness he's alive. I mean, that's the I kind of forgot that. As I know the wife was going to be wailing when we get to it. We have like the washing machine now. But importantly, before that, little girl with a plazooka here, plasma bazooka, is firing at him. My God, she's got a bad vendetta on this energy vampire and causing a lot of very serious property damage in the wake. Like people are dangling off that bridge, man. She's very reckless. She needs to sell some cookies, if you ask me. But yeah, so we he attacks her back, and he does like a supercharged move. And the idea is that this girl's been hunting him, and you can fly, but you can't hide. Of course, played by the great Cree Summers.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're at the crime scene of where Venbot was attacked. Go on.
Yeah, they're interviewing a washing machine, which is
his wife. Machine. Yep, it's his wife. Anyways, we have like the great thing of like, oh, he's so nice. He's giving free drinks to the neighborhood kids. They don't make them like that anymore. Just hysterical. Yeah. So anyway, so let's see. So XR, he detects like the bazooka residue and some other gross stuff because it's a back alley. And essentially they say, okay, well this wasn't done by Nosferatu. This had to be someone else. There's like a third player on the board here. Something's going on. So they're tracking him. Let's say they track him on basically, I forget the exact name for these are, but they're on like these speeder bikes, which is like another cool thing from the toy line. Like, oh man, putting your Buzz Lightyear on like the cool, like what if Buzz Lightyear had like a cool like kind of speeder bike of sorts.
This whole show is like very much in that style, Dragon. It's very much like if the Joel Schumacher Toygenic style was actually pulled off well,
Yeah, Toyetic, yes.
And this whole sequence, this chase scene with them in Nose 4A2. I'm sorry, I have to spell that out every time I see it.
It's literally spelled out. That's how his name's spelled. It's like Nose 4A2.
This whole chase scene, Dragon, I know it's like before Attack of the Clones, but it very much reminds me of like the Coruscant chase from that movie.
Well, it makes sense. Lucasfilm gives birth to Pixar. Pixar gives a little birth to Lucasfilm. It's all relative. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
And I do very much dig this city because or the planet, because I think it's a mix of like it's obviously got the Coruscant vibes with basically being like the planet size, or I'm sorry, yeah, the planet size city, but then it's got some Blade Runner, and then it's also got kind of like some Hey Arnold like urban flavor to it as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah, oh for sure.
It's a good blend.
I love how we reveal Nosferatu. He's doing like the upside down bat hang, so he kind of blends in the surroundings, and then he comes alive and he chases XR to get his revenge for him defeating him last time. And then we have like the chase happens. Again, Buzz following on the speeder bike essentially, and And then we have this great gag here where they're speeding and there's this little old lady putting along.
This is a great Patrick Warburton moment.
This little like getting spun around, but during the chase by the fleeing XR and Nosferatu, and then Buzz is like the only one with the decency to stop.
And just Patrick Warburton. I just love how Patrick Warburton in this moment, he's trying so hard to be polite, but he's clearly this old woman is taking up time, and just like the balance that he has in that delivery is just priceless.
Just love it. Just like you do have the right. Yeah, he's such a straight arrow. This person. Just like you do have the right of way. You do have the right of way, ma'am. But if you could utilize it a little more quickly. Well, at my speed, you're lucky to be going at all. So she puts along, and then he lost him, and then XR seemingly is falling, and he is saved by Nosferatu. Oh no!
Yeah, so this is also kind of like a low-key dark element, Dragon, is that Nosferatu throughout the episode basically kidnaps XR, and he's threatening to essentially cannibalize XR throughout the episode.
Yeah, he's that comes like a little later, Tiki, but yeah, it's essentially what he's planning. He wants to basically like he's gonna drain him and then re-energize him and then drain him again on ad infinitum for revenge.
Yeah, Tom Priest hits it on the head. It's basically Coruscant, but doesn't hide the fact that it's a den of scum and villainy.
Yep.
And also, he asks if this episode was based on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I
was kind of wondering that too. Honestly, I think the Cree Summers character probably a little bit.
I mean, I'm not really super familiar with all the ins and outs of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in terms. I can't nail down if she's based on an exact character, but obviously the name is definitely like a nod.
She's based on I believe it was a movie first, and then Whedon spun it off into a show.
Well, sure. What I mean is, I don't know if Savvy is based on a character from.
Oh, sorry.
Buffy
Yeah.
I don't know if she's supposed to be like. Obviously, the hair.
I'm going to assume there's some loose inspiration there.
So that's all I know is the title is, and I remember, like in the animation industry, Tiki, a lot of people love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and even Batman Beyond. So yeah, Batman Beyond took some. I'm trying to remember if it was Batman Beyond. Oh, right. Yeah, there was like in the conceptual phases of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there was some of Batman Beyond. There was like a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer influence. Basically, Bruce Timm loved that show, so he tried to get a little bit in there. I've actually realized no, I just completely botched that. It wasn't Batman Beyond. It was this little piggy episode of Justice League Unlimited. So there's an example for you where again Buffy was still going strong, and it did a whole episode very much inspired by Buffy. So there's a lot of.
I mean, Buffy, it's like they had Buffy and then they also had Angel, and that also kind of like went on for quite a few seasons. So that franchise was around for a good decade.
Oh, that it was.
But
so anyway, getting refocusing here. I forget, it might have already happened, but initially when we have the encounter between XR and Nosferatu, basically XR uses like the little suckers on him and thinking that's going to like do him in. And of course, no, he has a randometer on now. And the randometer essentially deflects, like it kind of prevents against like being shorted out, like being short circuit, which is what the little finger suction things do that XR has on his fingers there. And that led to the chase and everything. Anyway, so now XR is at his mercy and he says, "Ah, yes, exacting my revenge for you abandoning me in that dreadful prison." Says, "Oh, they put you in the dreadful prison? No, I was going to send you to the really nice prison."
All right, so I appreciate XR's quips.
Yeah.
I do think they get a little bit old as the episode goes on. I'm not going to lie.
Maybe it's the frequency more than is like the lines themselves.
It is a frequency thing, yes. It's a frequency thing mixed with the fact that he's cracking jokes like very soon after we get like all the pathos of the girl's parents, quote unquote, dying.
To be fair, he wasn't right there during that moment, though. He was.
No, you're right. Not during that particular moment, but I'm just saying
that would have been really bad if he's making jokes right.
I mean, that's kind of the risk of doing that sort of pathos in a 20-minute Saturday morning cartoon. You know, you're going to run into some total whiplash with that runtime. But
yeah.
Anyways.
All right, so the point being, Nosferatu then attacks XR very briefly, but he definitely sucks some life out from him. Savvy attacks, actually nails that SOB. Then he hits the sewers, But oh no, here's an act
He
break for
hits
you.
the sewers much like Lalo Salamanca.
Oh yeah, it's just gonna be there for days. It's gonna be
Okay, oh
watching.
god, Dragon. Now I'm just picturing a scenario, all right? Just I got a
It's gonna be
silly
taking truck
scenario.
stop showers.
No. Just imagine Pennywise, Nose 482, and Lalo Salamanca just all hanging out in the sewers together.
I can imagine Lalo hanging out with Pennywise.
I
That's really
totally could.
that's a
I could
like,
imagine Pennywise being intimidated by Lalo. That's
yeah.
the
You know why? You know why he'd be intimidated, right?
why.
Because Lalo would just be entertained by him being a clown. He's just, oh, you think you're scary? That's cute.
Totally. Oh my
Because
god.
that's how Lalo would react. Because Lalo doesn't get scared, man. Lalo is scared. Well, no, Lalo makes people
Oh
scared. He
god,
has fear.
Dragon. Do you know who else should be in this little club of sewer villainy?
Oh,
This is gonna be a super deep cut. The Underdwellers.
oh God.
Have
No,
it drop those up.
Lalo lures the kids down there. It's just, hey kids, you wanna help me
The
get?
Underdwellers are like the wait staff.
Hey kids, we can
All
steal all
right,
the
all
chicken you want.
right.
Anyway. So, point being, Nosferatu is licking his wounds down the sewer. Meanwhile, we have this great act break where, oh my god, XR is flatlining. Beep.
Uh-huh.
All right, so Buzz is on the scene. He thinks like the girl's trying to elude him, and then she's like kind of in triage mode here, just like, I'm trying to reboot him so he doesn't lose his memory, like Wall-E.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So then, basically, she says she needs to get back to. She has like a charger unit at her place, so we have to take him there. And this is where we start to get kind of the culture clash going on here, where Buzz is utterly saddened by like the whole this girl being raised on Tradeworld and having all the innocence kind of stolen.
It starts I love how it starts. It doesn't even necessarily start innocently. It starts with like she knows what the black market is, which is not innocent. And then the gag is just gonna escalate from there.
Yeah, but it just starts off like, hey, you got to leave law enforcement. It starts out like an actual point, like, yeah, leave it to law enforcement, ladies. Is like, all this sort of stuff. Like, leave it to the pros. Whereas, like, well, someone has to take them down. So again, she's being a proactive vigilante of sorts. And then when they head to her place, and she's like on this. I love. Did you notice the gag about where she lives?
No, I don't think so.
So one, I love in getting there. The whole this the place is like, where do you live? Where do you live exactly? Like the bad part of town. Could you be a little more specific? Turn to the left.
That's
But
funny.
then we get like the visual gag of the she lives on top of a building, and the building she lives on top of has like a big old sign that says "Seedy Hotel."
Oh yes, I did catch that. Yeah.
This Tradeworld just unabashedly, yeah, we're not the nicest place. It's like what is it?
Pretty much.
Here's what Tradeworld is. Tradeworld's like the Blade Runner-y, almost like Batman Beyond future of Gotham that just completely gave up. Of like, yeah, there's no saving it. We know.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, one thing I want to talk about with her is Dragon. I gotta tell you, I really, really dig the idea of a human girl who's adopted by robot parents.
It's such a cool idea, right? It's what
the episode does not go nearly in depth enough with it, but like Dragon, I would absolutely watch a Pixar movie or something with that as the premise.
I'd love to see a Spark short about that.
Or even like a Star Wars thing or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's a fascinating idea, right?
Yeah, I really dig the idea. I really dig the idea that her last name is like just the combination of letters,
Like the closest I've seen of this was that there's this movie called Mother, in which the girl is raised by like kind of a robot AI. So that's the closest.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man. It's just like I said, like this episode manages to pull out like a legitimately intriguing sci-fi premise and an actually effective, like quote unquote, death. This episode impresses me on that level, man. This episode is like surprisingly ambitious.
So let's see. Then we had your black market line there, and I love her reaction to Buzz Lightyear after he says, "A child shouldn't know what the black market means," and then she just has a bit after she's about to revive XR. are you for real? This is Tradeworld, and then she just zaps him to life. And that's the thing. So with the parentage thing, I love that because of that, she has a great compassion for robots, and she's really nice to XR, and she's real sassy to Buzz Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my father's eyes. The
I love
CB-22.
the whole thing about XR having her father's eyes. That's adorable.
Yeah. So let's see. So okay. So point being, we have kind of a technologically updated version of the vampire stake at play here with how we're going to defeat Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
She's got this power absorption field
Dragon,
device.
it's basically a USB.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It's basically kind
Which
of
I
a
love.
it's kind
Like
of a
if
power
this was
draining
written in the
USB.
2020s, it would definitely be a USB.
It's a power draining USB before we had USBs. Because back in the day, you had, I think, drives and floppy disks. That's all you had.
Yep. Oh yeah. Fun times. Fun times.
All right, let's see. So, okay, let's see. So, all right. So we have like the random meter thing. Says, oh, how could I think it wasn't random? Oh, maybe because you've never heard of it before tonight. So basically, the plan is, her plan is like, I'm gonna stab him. Like, okay, maybe we should come up with a better plan than that. Like Buzz saying, yeah, you need a better plan than just slay him. And XR just wants to stay back and behind because he's very terrified now. His little finger trick won't work.
Uh-huh.
XR, aren't you hungry for a rematch? Is Buzz Lightyear trying to inspire him, and then the girl actually has more success here. Savvy saying, well, family that stays together slays together. And she's like, you know what? I'm inspired now. Okay, to victory. And of course, his hand flies. The running gag with XR is, he's always running he's always losing parts and during like the big moments he's trying to be cool, so he loses the hand. So they don't have any duct tape. And earlier during like the chase, he lost. I know this plays like the back of my hand. And of course, like, oh, I lost that again too. I wonder if this is a righty or lefty, which is a really cute double joke because it's like you don't know your left hand from your right hand, so it's really cute.
All right, so the characters retreat into the sewers, Dragon,
Bum, bum, bum.
and they find Danny DeVito's penguin. What are you doing here?
They said there was fish down here.
All right, no, I'm off.
No, okay, no. So, but anyway, so the point is they find the servo fluid from the wound, which is a cool detail, by the way. I completely forgot about. Oh yeah, he's bleeding essentially as a robot.
No, again, Dragon, we've talked it. This has come up time and time again. The whole idea, like, if you do robots and make oil the blood, you could get away with a lot of gore.
That's why we could kill Optimus.
Oh yeah.
So, anyways, of course, Savvy's being like, stay out of my way. And of course, I love this gag. Always cracked me up. I just love the fact that Buzz, he kind of like they go into the sewer, following the trail, and then he kind of peeks his head back out, and he does like a little like key lock on the bike. Because you're in a bad neighborhood, you want to make sure it's locked up. All right, so you see a trail of bodies, which is a heady idea when you think about, oh yeah, we have robot characters in this universe. Like, look at all these bodies. It's so horrific.
Bodies.
Yeah. And then we have like XR. Would you like a moment of silence to honor your fellow robots? Yeah, sure.
Great, yeah.
This takes like a millisecond. Then he's like, okay, let's get out of here. So he's like,
yeah,
no
really,
time
really
to
good
mourn.
timing on that.
All right, so let's see. So all right, if this place doesn't scream evil lair, I don't know what does. That's a good line. Because it's kind of like a throwback to a Universal horror sort of thing, where you have like the big space in which it's like the stairway in Abbott Meet Frankenstein. They always have like that one big set piece, from a Universal horror movie.
Oh yeah, totally.
We might have some comments, Tiki.
Yes, we do. You're right about that. Tom Beast, you want to read it?
Yeah. I think this episode is where I saw Nosferatu as a mass murderer. The minute he learned he can turn organics into robots, he immediately decided to roboticize them and feed them. Yeah, that's what happened in The Wire. And the base of the big monster mash, kind of like the finale of all that, where he basically tried to turn everyone into werewolves, which means he has control over the metal things, and he can feed on them if they don't do what he says, which is quite horrifying, which he's going to do that to the entire galaxy. Okay, Amiga Nos went from agent of evil, mass murderer, and then by the end, a monster. I wonder if it's like a typo of like Nosferatu with Amiga Nos.
I'm guessing it is, yeah.
But yeah, so essentially, yeah, he was like Zurg's minion, and then he kind of became ultimately, again, mass murderer with all the bodies, and then ultimately a monster with like was. So yeah. All right, so yes, point being, Nosferatu's lair, yeah, it looks kind of cool. I always loved his ship. His ship was like the coolest thing ever. The fact it was like he's in like the vampire casket, but it's a spaceship.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, let's see. So they find that now they find that this is a creepy idea, very Hannibal Lecter. The obscure pulls Kilgrave from Jessica Jones. It's like he controlled a body, or like he basically attacked somebody and ripped out their servo pump and replaced it with and replaced it in himself. Like, that's really creepy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so okay, so let's see. So so Savvy's getting really impatient, and she's getting all ticked off and everything. We gotta get him now. So then we do a really big plot contrivance, I won't lie, with the newspaper machine.
yeah.
This is like Saturday morning cartoon logic, though. So it's like, well, how are they going to get from point A to point B? Well, it's a newspaper machine. He's like,
I don't mind it, honestly.
The Metro page. Of course, XR, the first thing he sees is the Miss Tradeworld finals. Are we going?
Oh God.
Anyway, so point being, long story short, here they're putting in a crystallic fusion reactor, which obviously is going to be a huge target for Nosferatu, so he can charge up. That's where they're going to get him, and basically Buzz's plan is to, when he gets close to the thing, he'll reverse the charge so it sucks in the power instead of putting out the power, and then they'll arrest Nosferatu. And it's a happy ending. It's an early episode. We did it in 15 minutes. What do you know? So XR here, he just says, well, we could have just hit him while he was distracted as a judge at the swimsuit competition. We could do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. So Savvy here, she starts. So basically, she just kind of crashes the plan here, and she starts to try and drain him from a distance, which we know is not going to work.
She basically pulls a Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins.
Oh God, I'm so glad you actually know what that is. I did not want to have to explain it.
I know what it is. Mainly because of Barry, and then you explained to me what the Leroy Jenkins thing is because of Barry. So I'm aware of the Leroy Jenkins.
Okay.
So she goes the full.
But am I wrong? She pulls a Leroy Jenkins because they have this whole plan, and she just busts in.
I like to think that at some point we're going to update that meme, and you know what that meme's going to be?
Oh God, what?
Richard Jenkins.
No, Jesus Christ.
Because that guy's amazing.
Richard Jenkins should just do a version of that meme. That's what you should do.
There are two memes I want to see of Richard Jenkins. That one, I want someone to make the new. Oh, look, it's Old Man Jenkins. Let's have Richard Jenkins.
Oh, Old Man Jenkins, absolutely.
Whether it be like, it's Old Man Jenkins' jalopy, we see Richard Jenkins in a car.
Oh,
or like Old Man Jenkins, we have someone like put a rope around Richard Jenkins. Like he's been caught. Anyway, sorry, Richard Jenkins aside, rewatch Shape of Water. I love that man so much. He's wonderful. Regardless. Point being, she crashed.
Like Richard Jenkins is kind of having this is going to be. I don't know if you're going to agree with it per se, but he's kind of having the movie career that I expected Bryan Cranston to have post Breaking Bad.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because Cranston does have a show on right now. He's been doing a lot of TV stuff, but
that's fair. He does do a lot of TV work.
But that's the thing, because Jenkins we haven't seen in a starring role either, so he's kind of on even footing with Cranston. But only Jenkins is.
No, that's what I'm saying. I feel like someone I heard someone compare Cranston and Jenkins recently, and I was like, I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, they are very similar in their style.
The only difference is that Jenkins is getting more Oscar attention than Cranston. That's the only difference.
But again, I think one of the reasons is because Cranston has been doing more TV work.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Anyway, so point being, she crashes the plane, tries to suck it, tries to use the device to drain him, but then he kind of repels it because of the randometer. Repels back at her. Buzz then tackles him to save her, and then of course, my hungry must feed, and then I always love when he does. It's always like the no moment as a kid, where he bites into Buzz's suit and he's draining the suit. As a kid,
the idea of him infecting the suit. That's another really clever sci-fi concept.
In the first episode, he appeared, and they had the whole thing where he was doing this to all the Space Ranger suits. You had people's suits. Yeah. Because before they exited the suits, they were like the puppets. They were not able to control their bodies, and then they had to get out of the suit.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's a really cool idea. And as a kid, it was almost like the Superman the animated series thing for me. Every time Superman was in the anti kryptonite suit, the lead suit, which it's cool. I appreciate it now more. But as a kid, it was like, well, there goes the cape. Now it's Superman without a cape. And now it's like, well, there's Buzz Lightyear, and that's cool to see Nosferatu. Every time it's like, no, don't bite him because now he's not going to be in the suit for the rest of the episode.
Okay, you know
No.
what though? I do really dig the look of Buzz Lightyear without the suit because I really like how they still incorporate the the purple like kind of
Yeah.
like head thing.
Yeah, the snoot. So apparently, the actual name for the thing that's on Buzz's head is called like a snoot. That's what the astronauts call that little
Is
head
it
thing.
really? Oh man, that's
Yeah, it's
great.
called a snoot. Yeah.
All right.
Regardless, yeah, but you're right though. Yeah, I mean the undersuit design again. Now, having grown up beyond the kid point, is like yes, absolutely. The undersuit does look cool though. Yeah. Regardless, so point being, so Buzz, the suit is infected, so he's quite helpless at the moment, and XR is kidnapped, and let's just say then we get Warburton giving us some ticked off Buzz Lightyear, where he's like ranting on the girl here for he says, well, there goes my suit, and now there's no time to waste because XR's on the menu again, and you just have to rush in without thinking.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, he'd be booking Nosferatu right now as they speak. Because the plan was going off aces. Like it's like the opposite of a Fred Jones plan. It was actually going great. Then it actually turned into a Fred Jones plan, in which it didn't work at all.
All right. So let's see. Then we're getting at. You're right. I totally skipped ahead, but we're
Yeah.
basically getting the idea of Nosferatu wanting to cannibalize
Well,
XR.
yes, I'm sorry, to I want to get in like one of the great jokes of the episode. Those are the really absurd jokes. It's really funny to me. So after she gets on board with everything, and like now they're going to head to save XR
After
from
she
those.
hot wires the car, no less.
That's the thing. So she hotwires the bike because, and here's why. This is the game. Already. So of course, he's thinking I can recharge my suit, but the suit has been controlled, so it's walked off. And then he says, my keys were in the suit, and my wallet, and my badge, and my paycheck. I gotta get direct deposit. I love the paycheck gag. I love the fact just to make Buzz's day all the worse. It's like, yeah, his paycheck in the suit.
Always go with direct deposit, man.
He's an old-fashioned guy, Tiki. So I just love that, and then of course she hotwires the thing, and she basically Buzz trying to sell in the Junior Space Rangers thing. He says like, "How? What am I going to learn? How to sell cookies?" All right.
Oh.
So then they're heading there, and he says like, "Oh, I can't. Like, you can borrow my bazooka." He's like, "No, that's an illegal firearm. Breaking the law is never a choice." Oh, you're such a tourist.
He totally like Dragon is Buzz in the show. Like, does he kind of like radiate the very much the Adam West Batman energy? I kind of compare it to.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely kind of there's an Adam West thing, of course. Those moments where he gets ticked off are quite funny. But aside from that, he's
no. But I'm saying just as far as like being a very strict like rule follower.
He's very procedural, very by the book. Yes.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, honestly, the only time I can most noble time he's ever really gone against that thing was in the movie, where he basically kind of disobeyed orders to save the day. That's kind of
it's kind of funny, but that's literally the plot of both Lightyear movies.
That's what I'm saying. Literally, to kind of steal the ship. So that's like the one exception for Buzz Lightyear when he does break the rules. Like it's like, well, sometimes you need to steal a spaceship for the greater good.
Exactly.
Anyway. So okay, then we have the notice radio things. It's like, well, don't you like you don't want like a meal before the flight? You are the last meal.
Oh well, you know what they say about airplane food.
Yeah, that airline food. Yeah. So then there's a race to the lair, and Buzz is like constructing here. Oh god, here's where we have the pathos before we get all the threat and everything. So Buzz is looking to construct a weapon with spare parts, so he's not like using a legal firearm. And he's looking for a little part, and then the girl, again, Savvy, a very tough street girl, she then kind of like a very human moment happens here where she finds her parents' dead bodies.
Yeah, I was genuinely kind of shocked by this trend.
Yeah.
Like, again, could you imagine like the body parts? It's literal body parts. They are in pieces.
Well, no, they're fully assembled though, Tiki. Everything else is in pieces though.
Right. But like obviously
they're dead though. They are very dead though.
And then even the other stuff being in pieces, like obviously if this was humans, it'd be just like just body parts everywhere, and you can never
Yeah.
get away with it.
Oh,
Love that
absolutely. Yeah.
loophole. Love that loophole.
It's great. But seriously, again, just this heady idea of again like a thing we take. It's so commonplace. We always like, oh yeah, kill a robot, just chuck him in somewhere, destroy it. But like, when you make this girl's parents robots, it adds like a wonderfully horrifying context of like, oh god, or she's having a Batman moment right now. This Harper Row looking girl's having a Batman moment.
Totally.
So of course it's like this little moment here of like it's time to get even. It's like she's really upset by this, and it's just like look, just work with me here. I have a plan. Well, it better be a good one. We're Space Rangers. It's always a good plan. A little comforting moment, which is quite nice. So then we have Nosferatu's revenge, which, as you said, he's gonna feed on him slowly, and that's when he's right about out of power. He's gonna recharge him and do it again. Mwah! So Buzz interrupts this process as they're basically getting ready to leave. And then, this is like the best gag in the episode with Nosferatu, where he says, "May I please have my revenge? Is that too much to ask?" And he's like grabbing XR. Seriously, is it? Like, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it is. So I love that. So, anyways, Buzz like he fixes the blasters coming apart for a second. It's like one moment. So then Nosferatu reanimates the bodies, and then they rise, my children. There's not
this
me,
is kind of a
him.
horrific idea. Like, I love that even the suit is. I know we already saw it in the last episode, but even the suit's turning against him.
Yeah, no,
I feel like it's a little bit more personal in this episode than the last episode, because last episode it was all their suits. This episode it's like more of a one-on-one thing.
It's a lot more intimate. Plus, it's like my suit. That guy has my paycheck.
Right.
But yeah, I love the. It's actually a great option you don't get with Dracula, which is really cool. In which Dracula has like basically three options: like drain them of their blood, hypnotize them, or bite them, and they turn into vampires as well. So those are like the three options. We've added like an awesome fourth option, where I can reanimate their blood-drained corpses essentially and bring them back online. Very heady. Zombie vampires. So anyway, they're back, and he's fighting his own suit. He's like a hand that's trying to get him and everything. Anyway, so they're preparing to launch Nosferatu. This is like a throwback to Dracula, I'm sure, where it's like he's in the casket, and the casket is like closing so slowly. He pulls out like an oil can to make it go faster.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have the big moment. Oh, but man, this moment was always really cool and kind of funny when we have like our gag. But the fact that so Savvy enters, and she because it's not a USB yet. She has the thing, and we're doing the Van Helsing pose. It's like, oh, no adapter. I can't just plug it in. So she grabs a rock and then just like full on. Again, because it's a robot, we can get away with it, kids. Because ordinary television, you can't.
Right.
Seriously, did you know? Like,
if this was a normal human being, you would be bludgeoning a human being to death with a blunt object.
Honestly,
not okay.
Not just that. Did you know? I think we've talked about this with Hey Arnold at least once, but in general, there was a network thing, at least all throughout the 90s and probably onward, where you can't show vampires in animation. And you'd have to do all these really weird things to get around. That's why Morbius, the living vampire inspiring the animated series, is so lame.
I had no idea, and that's stupid.
It was like an actual network. It was like one of the very few network rules that Batman the Animated Series had to follow.
Vampires?
I think it's because of the whole blood thing. I just think that's why, because we can't show blood, ergo no vampires, and we can't have people like biting into each other's necks and being. I don't know. I guess that's why. And you can do vampire paranoia like Hey Arnold did. You can do it's and also remember Animaniacs. The whole he hits him with a bat, and we get a little sorry, I've actually reversed that. Actually, no, it's like we can't hit him with a bat, so we're gonna give a little bat wing. So that one's actually kind of a reversal of the vampire rule. Regardless. Point being, it was really graphic. Where she just grabs a rock and does the full Van Helsing, like bam, technology, meet the primal forces of nature, my friend, and bam, right through the randometer. And then we have Nosferatu with the great. He just could have used an adapter. Then he dies again. This is like kind of those revival deaths. Before next time he dies, he really dies, kids, and that's like, oh god, he's like in pieces. It's really rewatch that scene, like, oh god, that's how he died. But yeah, so he power drains it. He does that reflex thing where he kind of springs up for a moment, like a little jump scare, and then like she taps him down. All right, so then we have our happy ending where we see her as a junior space ranger, and And we have the parents. They're revived by the LGMs. They're alive.
Yeah, I love how the parents just seem like average, pleasant folks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, it's just like it just seems like I love the whole idea of I know we already discussed it, but
No, it's nice though. Yeah, you're right. They seem like average Joes. It's a really nice
yeah.
kind of family. So yeah,
All
she got her parents back, which so rarely happens. I'm sure it brings a tear to Bruce Wayne's eyes. Like, why can't it be that easy?
right.
So then, anyways, and the LGMs have this great like praise. It's like good they do the best work. Praise. Anyways, then Commander Nebula walks in, and he bought cookies from her.
Yeah, like I like how it's almost kind of like being framed as like an under the table drug deal or something like that.
Yeah, it says you owe me. Yeah. Which, of course, that's how she would do business. She would terrify him and then be like an under the table drug deal. Or it's like, there you go. And it's just like, well, the kid's tough. She makes real officer material.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the episode.
All right. So yeah, Dragon, basically what I said at the ending is pretty much all I have to say. I think that, or what I said at the beginning is all I have to say. It's it's a really strong episode just as far as character development, pathos. Again, I think the character is a very, very strong one-off character by Chris Summers. A little light on the atmosphere, a little bit. There is some good moments of it, but so I would probably rank it towards the bottom of this year's lineup just as far as the actual scares go. But it's a quality episode for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always down for talking some Nosferatu, but yeah, it doesn't quite have the full-on kind of haunted Halloween kind of hijinks, atmosphere that we have with something like Wirewolf. But it's still it's to me it's just really cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Also, we want to thank Tom Beast for joining us.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
All right, folks, that's the end of tonight's spooky selection, and our spirits grow weary. But they'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage in even more haunted holiday hijinks.
Might I please have my revenge? Is that so much to ask?
Pennywise, come on, you gotta have a beer.